get to UFC 259 recap, and I want to get to Aljamain versus Jan before we get to Izzy versus Blachowicz, because everyone's super mad at Aljo. Not even, I don't like...
Mad at Aljo?
Yeah, because
he milked it a little bit?
Yeah.
I thought he did a little bit, but he wasn't even the fucking head.
Everyone swears he milked it a lot of bit, and he was faking it.
I think it was a little bit.
I think he was definitely hurt, because that knee landed solid, but he was milking it a little bit.
He wanted to recover. I don't think he wanted the fight to end.
He didn't need to milk it, because even if you're compromised 2%,
they're going to call that shit.
No, in your head, you're like, dude, I'm not 100%. I'm like 98% right now. But I feel a little off because of that knee. Then you have every right to be like, I worked my entire life for this title shot. You earned every right to be like, all right, I'm gonna wait for the rematch so I can feel 100% and feel like I'm giving myself the best shot, even if the fight was not going his way. Who's to say there's not a wild scramble and he gets Jan's back at some point in the 5th round, or he grabs a leg and somehow gets a heel hook or something. But the thing that pisses me off with Aljo, I agree with everyone that he was milking it a little bit,
not a lot.
No, I do think a lot of it, and you can, and I think he was milking it a lot, because you can be hurt, but you don't have to be like writhing where you can't even sit up, and you're like blinking a million minutes.
He looked like he was in a car accident the way he was acting.
He was looking around like, oh,
yeah. To be fair, he ate a huge knee,
and he ate it. But then the thing that his story is so inconsistent afterwards. I was watching his interview with a Mac Life. He had like a 25-minute sit down, and he was talking about it. It was so inconsistent. He was talking about like. He asked him about the Joe Rogan interview, and because people were like, "Oh, why do you do an interview so concussed?" Because remember, Aljamain insists on doing an interview.
Why the fuck did they do an interview?
And he's like, "Oh, I don't even remember talking to Joe." And then Ray Longo, his coach, was talking about how the referee Mark Smith went to the ambulance to ask if he was okay.
Yeah, and
he's like, "I really like Mark Smith because he really cares."
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good point by Longo. But then Aljamain's like, "Oh, I don't even remember that." But then he was talking about he remembers. He asked why he did the interview. He's like, I remember my intent going into the interview was to not put this narrative like
he was happy it happened.
Yeah, or something like that. Or he was happy to be the champion. And I was like, so you remember your intent right after you got drilled in the face, but right after that, you can't remember anything.
Yeah, and it was selective memory, it seems like, right?
Mm-hmm. And then he's like, and everybody's like talking about he's like, because remember he was like, I was just because the CT scan said I was clear doesn't mean I don't have a concussion. I was like, I would think the doctors would have told you of any level of concussion. They wouldn't just be like, the CT scan's clear.
He was definitely hurt really bad, but I think he milked it because he wanted the extra time to recover. I don't think he wanted the fight to end.
I think he just he's acting like. He's making the argument it was spinning stupid, even if I was faking it to keep going, because I definitely was. Who's to say my chin didn't get a little softer, and a shot that wouldn't have hurt me before that knee is gonna hurt me now.
Yeah,
but he and all that, and why go and compromise at all, if any, even if you're not as hurt as he was letting on. He was making those arguments and I agree with just be smart about it and take a new fight, but the way he's just over he bit into what everyone else is everyone's like, if you're able to be aware and all that, you should just fight. It's the manly thing to do. You don't take the belt like that. And that's stupid. But he fed into that, and he's like, I can't not be rocked and not continue fighting. So I have to make sure I look rocked.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like he was trying to play that he was rocked and wobbly. You could tell he was definitely damaged and hurt. Mm-hmm. But I felt like he was the wobbly shit he was kind of milking. I feel bad for talking about him because he's a good guy and he's a really good fighter.
Moments like this show your true colors. And then he's like, I was vomiting afterwards at the house. I didn't even eat, but I ate 2 ounces of chicken. But I didn't. And it's who weighs their fucking chicken after they're not weight cutting anymore?
Exactly.
And he's like, I only had grilled chicken, 2 ounces, and I didn't get any food till later. And he's like. And then remember he was toasting with his whole family, the alcohol with the belt around his shoulder after he didn't want the belt. I don't even know how the belt got.
He dropped it off on the octagon.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't even know how the belt got to my house. And then I was like, and he's like, I only had a sip. I didn't want to be rude and not cheers with them and all that. But I'm like you're so full of shit. Then nobody would got mad if you toasted with water.
You have it on your shoulder. What do you mean? Exactly. How to get here?
And you're nobody told you, hey, put the belt on your shoulder or whatever.
Yeah,
and he couldn't even look at the dude in the eyes. His eyes were all over the place.
Let's get to the guy who did it. What the fuck was Peter Yan thinking?
I have no clue, and I do think it was just like a lapse in judgment. He also didn't like Aljo, but I don't think he did it because like fuck this guy. But I think he was, but he had a good explanation. I agree with.
Like his
that
coach said to do it.
No. He was saying he said that he was focused on his hands on the mat.
Oh yeah.
Because he had hand
in the press conference, right?
Yeah, he said he had his hand and his knees on the canvas, and he didn't realize
watching the hands.
He didn't realize because remember a few years ago you had to have your hand with it.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
If you had one hand down, and they changed it towards just your knees, and that was before he was in the UFC, but still.
Well, no, it's your hand too now.
They changed that in like 2016. No, it's just your knees.
I thought it was your hand too.
No,
now.
well, if your hand's down, you're still down. But if you have just your knees, you're down.
Yeah, that's what
before though, you had to have your hand to be down. If it was just your knees, I think maybe.
I'm pretty sure if your hand's down, it's still a down fight.
No, it is. I'm saying you are, but I'm saying back in the day,
it was just knees.
I believe you had to have your hand down to be downed. Like if you were on your knees, you could still get kneed. But I'm saying like they changed that a few years ago. Now you don't need your hand. You're down just with your knees.
Yeah.
But Peter said he saw his hand was on the ground with his knees, and he saw Aljo lift his hands, and he just thought like, oh, his hands up, I can knee him. Like he just had that lapse in judgment, and I can see that. It's also stupid, but I can see it.
You have to pay attention when you're in that high stakes fight. You can't have a lapse in judgment. I thought if this was WWE shit, and it was just gonna be like, he keeps the belt, we're going to get a rematch. I didn't know you actually get the championship off of DQ.
Remember I was telling you, Chael almost got the fucking belt. If he would have lasted like 20 more seconds or however long it was to the end of the first round with John Jones, he would have won the belt by getting his ass handed to him because John Jones' toe was so fucking broke. There's no way the commission would let him fight going into that second round. And Chael would have won the belt off of the TKO injury.
But, I mean, we're going to get a rematch, obviously, but...
That's another thing people pissed off is Aljo posed with Henry Hughes like, I'll take this fight, blah blah blah. I'm like,
bro, what?
Like exactly,
you didn't even really win the belt.
Exactly, you're talking about everyone's talking about you're not a legitimate champion. You're like, oh, I want to legitimize this belt, but then you see Henry and you're like, let's do a photo and let's fight.
Like Jan was starting to dominate that fight by the time that shit happened.
He was up 2-1, gonna be up 3-1, and Aljo was dead tired.
It was one of the judges are so fucking trash.
I rewatched the fight. I could see the second round and the first round both being Aljo's.
He got dropped hard as fuck in the first round.
Yeah, and that's the round everyone thinks Aljo won.
I'm talking about, Aljo got dropped bad in that round.
That's the round everyone says that everyone's giving him a round is all giving him the first round.
I had it 3-0 in my opinion.
I had it 2-1 because he did get dropped, but he didn't. He got up immediately. He was only wobbled.
Like the striking was kind of close. Other than that,
I think Sterling landed like
he landed
40.
more, but like Jan was landing the more damaging shots.
Yeah, but he was having Jan on his back foot. He was backpedaling the whole way. Octagon control. He had more strikes. He had to have got that first.
I don't know. I thought it was a close round, but I remember I had it I was like 3-0, maybe 2-1.
And I thought the second one was close, but the second half of the second round, that's where Jan started turning the table.
And then the third round was clear Jan.
Yeah, so I had it 2-1 Jan.
And the fourth round, it was like 36-10 strikes or some shit.
Oh, yeah. And you know what's funny?
It was getting close to a 10-8 for me.
I thought it was funny, though. I wasn't rooting for Aljo, but I appreciate Aljo's rise, and he earned the shot the hard way.
I wanted him to win.
And I just thought, like, the whole week going, he's like, you can't hit what you can't see, talking about he's a mouse in there and all that. And then he's like, when I take you down, you're not going to stop my takedowns, I'm going to drown you. And Jan was the one that was 7-7 on takedowns. Aljo was 1-17. And then he was like, you can't hit what you can't see. And Jan landed 70% of his significant strikes in the fight. So everything, like Sterling said, and I hate the excuse. He's like, I didn't feel right. Something was off during the fight. I'm like, so now you have another excuse beforehand while you were losing.
He also said, like, after the fight, like, it was one of the greatest bantamweight title fights in history.
It was a good fight.
It was a good fight, but I'm not calling it one of the best.
Aldo Jan was better.
Yeah, that fight was better. Anyway, let's get to the other fights. We're gonna get a rematch in that one. I mean, we all knew what was going to happen in the Amanda Nunes fight, and it happened. Do we really have to talk about that?
No.
Like, we all knew that was going to happen. I like
Megan's not even in the UFC anymore.
Wait, she got cut?
Well, no, her contract was up, which is something that never happened to Megan in a title fight at the end of their contract, but she got it, and she already said, I'm not going to go back to the UFC.
I mean, I like Megan Anderson, but we all knew she had no fucking chance.
She was super long. She's powerful. She's got good kicks. I was like, maybe, because there's not many women in MMA, like, They're knocking people dead right now.
And
there's the only people that are knocking people dead are Cyborg, Nunes, and Megan Anderson, and there's probably a couple.
Shevchenko,
yeah, Jesus
Whaley
Christ.
can do it, but
Whaley, Joanna, she doesn't really knock nobody dead.
She's
like
a pace person.
She's got that Colby Nate Diaz
where she just puts the pressure on you in that pace, and she just doesn't get tired.
Rose knocked her dead, but
yeah. But all right, Amanda Nunes was a GOAT. We all knew that was going to happen.
Like wide-eyed and scared the entire time.
Yeah, she looked like she wasn't ready. I remember when they walked into the middle of the octagon, I was like, oh yeah, Amanda Nunes is going to dominate this shit right now. Let's get to the main event. I said Izzy was going to win, but I wouldn't be shocked if Jan won. But this just proved my point that if Izzy and John Jones fought, John Jones would fucking fuck him, and beat his ass.
That's the thing everybody was talking about with the John Izzy. John's had a problem with lanky, tall strikers, and that's what Izzy is. But there's a difference between somebody like Gustafsson, who's actually a 205
the same size as him,
and a guy that's gonna be weighing 30 pounds less than him during the fight. It's a lot harder to take down a whole Gustafsson down, the guy that's your size, and somebody weighs 30 pounds less. You're like, he's gonna realize if the striking's not going my way, I can easily take this guy down. And his jiu-jitsu is a million times better than his.
In the 5th round, when fucking Jan took fucking Izzy down, he looked like he was just like not strong enough to get out. Like he just couldn't move. Like he
almost looked puzzled because it almost looked like he
didn't know what to do.
He said he tried a hip escape, and I don't remember seeing any.
I remember he tried one, but it looked really shitty when he did it.
But I remember it just looked like he was puzzled. Like he didn't know what to do, how to get out, and he felt like it looked like Blachowicz his weight distribution was like surprising. Izzy, how heavy he felt on top of him, how like he wasn't able to move. And I told you, me and you agreed, like I was like, we both said like we think Blachowicz is in. He's got a chance in this fight, obviously, and he's a good fighter. But we just thought Izzy was gonna be too good, and we were like, I'm picking Izzy. But the last 2 days, I told you I think Blachowicz.
The closer we got to the fight, I was getting towards 50-50.
Because I just thought I never thought Blachowicz was gonna knock him out, but exactly what happened happened because like Blachowicz can play this slow, drawn out striking.
Well, that's what he likes to do.
He was a professional kickboxer before he was in MMA, and. He was not. I don't think he was ever a world class kickboxer. He was a very good kickboxer, and we've seen him take his time. I mean, before he's had those moments like as he was talking about, he rushes in blitzes. But look at the Jacare fight, and Thiago Santos, he got knocked out blitzing and all that. But before that, he was doing a more patient approach. Corey Anderson, a more patient approach, and fucking. I just thought eventually I thought about it and I was like, well, exactly what the takedowns in this last 2 rounds happened was what was going in my mind. I was just like, I just don't think no matter how good Izzy's takedown defense is, the size is going to play a difference. Where
imagine it's John Jones with his wrestling pedigree. He would have fucking killed Izzy in there.
And there was a lot more people that had scored the first 3 rounds for Izzy. Everyone's somehow biased.
The first 3?
No, there wasn't many, but I was like looking. You go through like the websites like SureDog, MMA Fighting. You look at their play-by-play, see how their guys that they have scoring the rounds were doing it. See if it lines up with yours. Me and you both had it 48-47, but I could have seen 49-46 too.
For Jan, I didn't agree with 49-46.
Here's the thing: I was telling you this live. When the fight was over, there was only 3 rounds that. Or there was 2 rounds that 100% you could be like that guy won 4 and 5 to Jan, and then 3 was probably Izzy. But
that's what 3 and 1 I gave to Izzy.
But 1 and 2 could even either way. Jan outstruck him the first 3 rounds, all of them.
But I felt like Izzy was,
and he hits harder.
I felt Izzy was controlling the octagon. He was controlling the pace of the fight the first few rounds. But I thought the second round Jan was better, and he was landing more and landing harder. But the first round, I thought Izzy won just because of the fact that he was controlling the pace of the fight and controlling the distance.
But Jan landed 18 significant strikes to like Izzy's 11.
I said that he landed more, but I thought Izzy was controlling the fight more. He was more on the defensive.
And I agree. Like he's saying, we both had the same score, but like, see what I'm saying? How like subjective scoring is, no matter how like people always talk about like. Oh, these scorecards are so different, it's ridiculous. But like me and you, we both agree, we both know we're like talking about when we're scoring a fight and watching a fight, and we have the same score, but we're talking about like whether you could see somebody won that other round, and we totally disagree. And I think that's like just the way it is, and people need to learn that just scoring is not always going to be the most consistent thing.
But going to judging, I mean,
The 10-8 rounds were fucking stupid.
What round was a 10-8?
I think they were saying either the fourth or fifth.
Neither one of those was a 10-8. Izzy won the first half of the fifth round.
Exactly, and he didn't do enough damage. Like, the only time there was any damage done, he didn't really do any damage. The only time
like
big blows were thrown was the last 15 seconds of the fight, and when he got in mount and threw some shots. And even that, Izzy survived it, and he actually pulled him back in and got him off his posture right in the last, 3 seconds.
By just judging in mixed MMA and boxing, especially boxing, but MMA, it's a lot better in MMA. But you go and watch the Dominic Reyes John Jones fight. One of them had it 49-46 for John Jones. Who the fuck thought he won 4 rounds?
I think.
No,
two had it 4-1, one had it 3-2.
Who the fuck gave John Jones 4 rounds in that fight?
Exactly.
I watched it and I thought fucking Dominic Reyes won.
I thought it could have went either way. I had it John 48-47, but I remember thinking it could go either way. I'm not mad at it. Like Yoel versus Costa.
I had it Yoel, but I could see it going
I had it Costa, you had it Yoel, but remember both of us saying either way we're not mad at it.
Yeah, it was 50-50 in my mind almost.
I just felt bad one of them had to be the loser in that fight.
I know Yoel's not even in the fucking UFC anymore.
He's making a lot of money in Bellator. He's all right.
Yeah, but
he's already in a Grand Prix. But Jan did what he had to do to win. I'm happy for Jan because I really liked him. And I've been saying for the last couple of years that he's a dark horse. I never thought he would win the belt like this, but I always thought he was a dark horse that was really talented, that he didn't get the recognition he deserved. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy that he's such a nice guy, too. I'm happy that he got to cement himself as one of the greats right now. But Izzy's gonna be back. He's gonna fucking fuck up anybody who's next at 185. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, so do I.
And I don't think it's over him at 205, but I'm just bummed that him versus John's probably never going to happen now.
Yeah, well, I kind of figured the way the last 2 rounds in the Jan fight just worse if that fight happens.
Can you imagine if Izzy won this fight and he did eventually move up to heavyweight to face heavyweight champion John Jones? We don't know. We wouldn't have known that though because we beat Jan.
I've been saying it, but
if you were, and this is a parallel year for where if he won. But all right, I think we. Enough playing on fairy tales. Sorry, Bert, guys. Enough playing on fairy tales aren't going to happen. And I think we should end the podcast right there. Anything you want to add before we sign off?
No.
Not even after a 2-week break?
No.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Peace.